Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead on and call the Brawley City Council successor agency, Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency meeting to order this Tuesday, February the 18th, 2014 at 6 p.m. Can we have the roll call, please?
The minutes will reflect all council members present.
And before I get to the invocation and the pledge, I do want to take this time to welcome Marjo back. Marjo, it's good to see you smiling, and so prayers do work.
Yes,
good to see you. You're welcome. And we'll have the invocation by Pastor Mike Newcheck and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Mr. Donnie Wharton.
Father, we stand before you humbled as we are as city leaders and the people that represent the city, asking for your guidance and your direction at this critical time that has affected our city with the situation with national beef. We thank you for what you've brought us through at the time of the recession. We know that your hand and your presence was leading our leaders in that critical time. Lord, you helped our city to stay above water when other cities were going under. And we want to trust and believe you for the days to come, that you grant us the wisdom, the understanding, the leading of your Spirit and what to do, what not to do, what to agree, not to agree. May your Spirit lead and direct each and every one of our city leaders and county leaders in the days to come. For we ask and pray in Jesus' precious name.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pastor, and thank you, Mr. Wharton, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is public appearance, and this is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter's jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you when you come to the microphone. Please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the city council. And if there's someone from the public that wishes to come up, this is the time to do so. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item is introduction of Officer Adam Green by our police chief, Mr. Mike Crenshaw.
Mr. Mayor, City Council people, I'd like to introduce you to Officer Adam Green. He is a local Brawley resident. We're very happy to have him. He's been around, he's been hired for about a month now, but due to scheduling, we have not been able to introduce him. Adam graduated Brawley Union High School about 10 years ago and attended the Ben Clark Academy in 2008. He has a great deal of knowledge of law enforcement. He was with the Imperial County Sheriffs for 6 years, working the north end, so we're really glad to have him. He also can help us with some of that outside assistance that we always look for, just outside our jurisdiction. Adam has family here in Brawley still, and we anticipate to be a great asset to our department. I'd like to introduce Officer Adam Green.
All right. Thank you for that, Chief. And Adam, we'll still welcome you on board even though you're from B-Town. Welcome
If we're not done with you yet, I do have a comment. I can say that I've known Adam for a number of years. I want to say when he looked younger, I can't believe he's been out of high school 10 years because he hasn't changed a bit. But I do know also how he served our county with the Sheriff's Office. I've been a volunteer there for 17 years, and he was known actually out in the community as Super Cop for some of the things that he was able to do for people going above and beyond. So I agree with the chief. I think excellent to have him on board, and excellent way to start the year with what we like to target, which is local talent. So welcome aboard.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
And I also like to welcome you to the city of Brawley. Even though one of my daughters graduated with you, so I know you also. You might not know me, but I've heard a lot about you. And welcome.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that one of the nice things about hiring from an agency close like this is it's kind of like the kid that jumps off the bridge. If he comes up out of the water, there might be a couple others from that agency looking to come over. So that'd be great. We really appreciate that.
Yes.
So treat them well.
Thank you guys very much.
Welcome aboard, Officer Green.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is introduction of newly promoted fire personnel. Fire Marshal Mike Savella, Captain Eeyore Martinez, Lieutenant Richard Haskell, and Fire Chief Chuck Peraza would be doing that for us.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. It's my pleasure to introduce to you our newly promoted staff here in the fire department. They've been on for a couple weeks now, but the same thing with scheduling and everything. We finally got them here in front of you and the public, so for their introductions. First of all, I'd like to introduce to you our new Fire Marshal, Manuel Sevilla. Manuel's been with the department since 1985, so he's our oldest seasoned veteran in our department. I'm very confident that his knowledge and his experience with the department and the city is going to be a well fit into the fire marshal position. Actually, he hit the ground running and have had nothing to do. So he's taken on the responsibilities and the roles very diligently. So that's Manuel Sevilla, our new fire marshal. With Manuel being promoted into the fire marshal position, it created an open position in our captain's position. And Lieutenant Martinez at the time was on an eligibility list along with our other lieutenants. So I'd like to introduce you to Captain Eloy Martinez. He is also a Brawley native. He's been with the department for a number of years, and he's worked through the ranks as firefighter into lieutenant, and now he's our new captain here, and he's stationed out at Station 1. So Eloy Martinez. Our firefighter into lieutenant spot is Richard Hasso. Richard's been in the department for quite a few years as well. He climbed the ranks very quickly. He promoted into lieutenants as far as part of the testing process went. He's very knowledgeable and shows very enthusiasm into his new position as a fire officer, and he is stationed out of Station 2. And I introduce you to Richard Hasso. Also, Richard is a Brawley native too, so we do have all our employees here out of the Brawley Fire Department are all Brawley native employees. So it's very happy to see that.
Very nice. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
Good job, and it's really good. It's really good to see you guys promote up from within too. That creates good movement.
Can we get a photo?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna all go down, or just
All of us?
Yes.
let the mayor.
Stupid.
Let's let the mayor do it.
Yeah, I know.
No, we can be in the picture in the background like this.
Yeah.
I can look through this little section right here. Nice.
You guys so serious.
They always do. They never smile. They're all business.
I like the library picture.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Very nice.
Thank you guys very much. Well, just say they look too serious.
Yeah, they don't.
Okay, moving right along. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may request consent items to be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor. And is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, which is the public hearing. Update on the City of Brawley Program Income Reuse Plan. And we're going to have Mr. Soto take us through that. And once Mr. Soto gets finished, and then we'll open up to the public and get feedback from the public.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Francisco Soto, building official. What you have before you, starting on page 56, is a program income reuse plan. The state basically changed some of the language to the way that you spend your program income. They wanted some legal language in there, and they wanted some positive or immediate language to allow program income waivers. Traditionally, the city has used the funding for housing rehabilitation, business loan assistance, and home ownership assistance for purchasing of new homes. In 2010, as we reported earlier, program incomes waivers were possible. We took advantage of that in 2010 and helped to fund Fire Station number 2 with program income. Yeah. What you have before you is basically a document that's dictated by the state. They allow approved program income plans to last 3 years, and then they have to, all other program income plans have to go into this format. What you have before you is basically a plan that allows program income, which is the income that comes in from payment of loans from grants that the city has had under the CDBG program. 50% of the program income is designated for business loan assistance, 30% is designated for housing rehabilitation, and 20% is designated for home ownership assistance for first-time home buyers and the like. Staff respectfully request that you open a public hearing, hear all public comments, and then direct staff to present the program income plan of your choosing into the state for approval. That plan would then be viable for 5 years, able to be changed at your convenience by coming before this body, requesting a change, coming before this body, and issuing a resolution, and a majority of the council approval will allow you to change the plan as long as HCD approves that action.
Yeah. Mr. Soto, I want to say to you and staff that you guys have done a good job with acquiring these funds. In the past, was this broke up into percentages the way it is now? Is this something
yes,
new that they're
the
trying?
previous plan was broken up into these percentages. The one before that, we had more income in the housing rehabilitation. Right. The last one came before your in 2011, and the business loans was increased to 50%.
50%. Okay. Okay, before we open up the public hearing, is there any comments or questions from the rest of the council?
If I could, Mr. Mayor, this item did come before us a few weeks back just for discussion, and I know that I met with Francisco and I believe Rosanna on the issue a few weeks back. With respect to the breakdown as to how, I think you mentioned now it's 50% for business loans, what's the other figure?
30% is housing rehabilitation for units that are 1 to 4 units. And then 20% is for home ownership assistance.
And we're going to remain in, I know that's what we've had in the past, Francisco. Are we going to keep it at those levels, 50 for business assistance, 30% for housing rehab, and 20% for home ownership assistance?
That's what the plan proposes at this time. However, you're able to direct staff to break the percentages to whatever you wish.
We did talk about the potentially increasing the number of, or the percentage of business assistance from 50% to a greater amount, just because of home ownership assistance revolving loan account.
Not been too good.
Well, we've had failures in every aspect of this, I believe, but it's just something to consider. We can always come back.
I agree, Mr. Nawar's right. I think we talked about maybe lowering some of the amounts, but giving more loans to some of the businesses to generate more business.
We did talk about that. What would be, for example, once we approve this, the reuse plan, I know we can come back and discuss it again, and it would need to be adopted by this council, and then it would need to go to the state. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What's the time frame on that typically?
I'm going to guess that between 30 and 45 days after council approval, HCD will come back with either an approval, and they usually do not deny it, but they say modify your language to say this or this.
Right.
They want the city to have control over how they distribute the funding, as long as it's for the targeted fund.
And Francisco, just for clarification, the revolving fund, like we're seeing about, I think it was $16,000 a month. Is that what's coming back?
I think it works out to about almost $50,000 a quarter.
A quarter, okay. So, That's what we would have to potentially loan out for business assistance, housing rehab, or homeownership assistance, down payment assistance, right?
Correct, and you haven't seen many of those because, of course, the fund was being used for construction of Fire Station Number 2.
Exactly.
And now the fund is starting to build.
Any other questions from council? Okay, seeing no questions, then what I'm going, thank you, Mr. Soto. What I'm going to do is open this up to the public hearing for the public to comment how they feel about this program, and then we'll move on.
No comment.
Okay, seeing no comments, we'll close the public hearing and review and adopt resolution number 2014, resolution of the City of Brawley, California, revision of the program income reuse plan for the State Community Block Grant Program, CDBG.
I'll make a motion to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Soto. Thank you. Thank you, Council. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, is which on the regular business 5A. That's in your packet, pages 85 through 96. This is a presentation by Antonio Ortega from the Imperial Irrigation District on Governmental Affairs. Welcome, Antonio.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, staff, and I did pass around a brochure with some information in addition to what's already been presented to you in your backup regarding the Salton Sea Restoration and Renewable Energy Initiative. So I will just give you a brief presentation and then entertain any questions that you may have. As you already know and have heard for many years, the Salton Sea continues to be an issue of importance, not only for those of us that live here in the Imperial County area, but also the communities out in the Riverside County area. So again, just wanted to let you know why is it that we're here today and what is it that we're asking for. In October of last year, the Imperial County Board of Supervisors and IID Board of Directors entered into an MOU that lays out some mutual agreements of how it is that we at the local level are going to re-engage not only the state government but also our federal partners and the private sector to not only develop the renewables and the potential for renewable energy development at the Salton Sea, which we have known here locally for many years, but others outside of the area may not realize that potential. But how do we, again, not only re-engage them in that effort, but hold their feet to the fire? There were commitments made to the Salton Sea for restoration and mitigation post-QSA, and now that we are coming up on the 2017 deadline of mitigation water going to the sea and the rapid decline thereafter, where is it that we will be and what effects will that have to our community, not only because of air quality and public health issues, but economic development in and around the community surrounding the Salton Sea. So without getting into the specific details of the MOU, this is really again, a re-engagement of efforts to bring to the table these entities, Imperial County and IID, by taking this step, have not only met with folks here at the State of California Energy Commission, Department of Natural Resources Agency, but at the federal level with folks like the Department of Interior, who also have a large land ownership here at the Salton Sea. So once again, we are just continuing to do this in a collaborative effort, and we are asking that the cities also formalize this and endorse this initiative. Thus far, we have had, I've made this presentation to the Riverside County Board of Supervisors, the Salton Sea Authority, the cities of El Centro, Imperial, Hopeville, and now before you today. We will continue to do this, again, not only in all the cities here in Imperial, but moving over to the Coachella Valley. And again, we are here only to ask for your support.
Antonio, thank you. I will say at the last SCAG meeting in LA, the IID general manager gave a presentation over there, and you did a really good job emphasizing some of the potential for geothermal and just the fact of cleaning up the sea. There was a lot of good news and numbers, and speaking for myself as a council member here in the City of Brawley, I'll look supporting the resolution to move forward.
Thank you, Mayor. And yes, you are correct. And I forgot to mention that the Southern California Association of Governments, we will also be asking them to adopt the resolution at a future meeting. But Director or General Manager Kevin Kelly was there this past week. So we look forward to also engaging others, even outside of the Coachella and Imperial Valley, because we're all in it together, really. So,
and I would say with everybody joining in as partners, it looks like a really good, solid plan. I know the dollar seems astonishing when you start talking in the billions, and I'm not going to repeat what that dollar amount may be, but it's a lot of money. But I think in the long run, it'll be worth it. There is some reinvestment in the geothermal and cleaning up the sea to do with the QSA, and I think there's a good, solid plan in place. I think you guys have done a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Council.
Mr. Mayor, I'll keep it short, but I do want to, I think it's worth noting, and big congratulations really to the work that the county and IID did do on this to come together. I know there's a lot of agencies and a lot of stakeholders a part of it, but it really goes to show when we come together, especially these agencies that represent really the greater region, we could do some great things. And I think the public really needs to know, I know this has been talked about over the years, but we're really locally grabbing the bull by the horns, as we like to say, and I think pressing ahead. Absolutely have my full support, and I appreciate the summary white sheet here. It really does kind of tidy everything up. So again, appreciate your work on this.
Great.
Very good. Any other comments from council?
No, I think most people were very surprised to see the MOU take place. I mean, it's just, it really is, it signifies that the agencies are working together. That hasn't always been the case, you know that, and so it's an important document, so I think it's a step in the right direction. We're here to support the idea, the concept.
I forgot, I apologize. I just had one question. You mentioned some of the other agency. I know that our state senator, Steinberg, came down, Senate Pro Tem. Has that gained some traction as well, obviously, with this? I was wondering what the feedback was from that visit.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. You know, we have had in our state assembly member Perez, for the past 2 years, he's carried legislation to try to move forward some type of a local governance structure or funding for some of these ongoing efforts. And last year, the governor did sign one of his bills, that was Assembly Bill 71, which asked the Department of Natural Resources, or not ask them, but actually require them to provide $2 million in funding to the Salton Sea Authority, which is made up of the 5 agencies, Riverside County, Imperial County, IID, Coachella Valley Water District, and the Torres Martinez tribe, who sit on the Salton Sea Authority, to revamp or revisit their studies that they had put together in 2006, and now look at, you know, the situation today. What is realistic? What is it that we can fund? And based on today's numbers, what would that look like? So that is taking place now. The Salton Sea Authority is moving forward with that work. The visit by Senator Pro Tem Steinberg was in addition to that work that was being done at the state level. So he has also now his staff has contacted us, and they're very interested to learn about the geothermal and renewable energy potential at the sea. So not only the environmental and wildlife conservation, recreational, but what does that mean in terms of potential for energy development? Right. So they've been interested in that piece of it from his office. So we're hopeful that we can bring all these parties together, and again, not only the public sector but the private sector, and get the ball rolling soon.
Yes. Great. You guys have done a good job. Good job. Thank you very much, Antonio, for that.
And you need a motion for the resolution,
yeah.
Right? I so moved.
There is a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Good job.
Thank you.
We need to do a roll call?
Thank you.
No? Okay. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Antonio.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is 5B. pages 97 through 99 in your packet. Review and potential action regarding new street sweeping schedule for the city of Brawley, effective February the 24th, 2014. Our Public Works Director, Mrs. Arellano, is going to do this one.
Hi, good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members, Yasmin Arellano, Public Works Director. The City of Brawley City Council adopted the First Amendment to the Solid Waste Disposal and Recycling Franchise Agreement with Allied Waste recently. As part of this amendment, Allied Waste is performing sweeping operations for the City of Brawley. The First Amendment included a schedule which mimicked pretty much what the city staff was doing as Exhibit J. And Allied began operations, performing the sweeping operations on January 2nd of this year. And after over a month of operations, they suggested changes to the existing schedule. The main change is performing both shifts during the daylight hours. And basically what it would be is that the commercial area, which it's identified with the grade shaded area, that commercial corridor to be performed by 5 a.m. as well as city parking lots, and school areas and hospital area to be performed by 6 a.m. That would be the pink legend. Some of the, in comparison, some of the areas, the yellow portion used to be done during Monday and Tuesdays during the day. And then the Tuesday, the blue, was performed on Wednesdays during the day. The green was performed on Thursday during the day. The red area on the east side was performed on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at night. And the blue, like the deep blue area, which is on the area by the hospital also, in the southern part of town, was performed on Thursday on the night shift and also Friday morning. This schedule, the proposed schedule that is uploaded, won't interfere with trash pickup operations. And if approved tonight, it could be uploaded to the city website as early as tomorrow.
Okay. Jasmine, thank you. Is there any comments or questions from council?
I think the biggest complaints I've had is by the hospital during the night when all the cars are home, and they can't sweep, I mean, they go by there, but, they're not being swept. So, so you're saying, again, it's still during the evening?
No, this is what I was mentioning was how we used to do, how we still do it.
Oh, okay, but it's going to change.
Yes.
If we approve this.
This is proposed for February 24th, if approved tonight.
Okay, but I think that was the biggest thing, them doing it the evening.
Are you going to have still evening sweeping? In the night, not in the
well, if you consider evening sweeping 3 a.m. for the Main Street corridor.
Right.
And
well, that's fine.
busy
I don't have any
areas.
problem with that, but I do think we get complaints about at night sweeping with all the cars on the street. It doesn't do a whole lot of good.
Yes, we do.
In certain areas. So if we can do all day, it's better for us. Even if it's early morning in downtown and all that stuff, that's probably better. You don't want a lot of cars down there.
Correct.
And so all of that probably works out well if there's no nighttime sweeping.
Yeah, the residential area will be performed between the hours of 5 a.m. and 4 p.m.
Okay.
From Monday through Friday.
Can we get a status, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. If we do approve this, can we get a status update in the next few months just to see how things are working out?
Yes, definitely.
Please.
We can do a table and we have all the complaints captured, and then we can do that comparison. And some of those
Just to
complaints have to do with the trash pickup, with saying that the sweeper cannot get adjacent to the curb and gutter because of the solid waste containers.
Right.
I guess another question I have is at the 5 a.m. sweeping in a residential area, where is that occurring, or where is that beginning at 5 a.m., and how many streets are they going to sweep at 5, and this may be something you'll have to research, but at 5 a.m., how many streets are they going to sweep between then and, say, 8, when most of the people are gone to work? Because that would be my main concern, is that 3-hour window in residential areas, not in downtown or not in some of the other areas, parking lots or whatever. But in the residential area, 5 a.m. to 8 isn't going to solve much of a problem. That's like sweeping at night. So it doesn't, but maybe we need to look at that. Maybe we can do a little bit more research on that and take a look and see where that's headed.
Definitely, I can get together with Allied and find out the startup of of the route every day
Right.
so that we can
That's
take care of it.
They're there.
Okay.
Yasmin, just one question, maybe I didn't, and it could be in here, I didn't see it, but how, were you able to collect community input from the different schedules and sections as far as, or was it just, you've got the broad base input through staff, or, yeah, I'm just curious.
I can
on
offer
how-
just a little context for
Yeah.
the change. We've had a number of complaints. They are primarily in the area around where the hospital is. And some of those occurred because there was some initial misunderstanding between the city and the contractor regarding the time of day. So the time of day where service was being provided was not consistent with what the city was previously delivering as street sweeping service. So what we instructed at that time to Allied and its subcontractor Dixon was please go to the agreed-upon schedule until a future time at which the council will consider the change. They, at that time, identified that there were some inefficiencies in the way we had carved up the city streets, and they asked if we were going to go to council for changes, would staff be open to a proposal that emphasized efficiency? We said we're not in a position to decline efficiency. We certainly would be open to looking at how to best use the resource during the man hours assigned available. So in connection with that, we know there are going to be some transition issues as people experience the change in schedule.
If I can interrupt for just a second. So they were already following this plan, in other words, or something similar to it?
No, they eliminated the evening and did only daytime.
Okay, but that's where the complaints were generated?
That was some of it, and we had some conflicts with trash collection and recycling days. So this experience has allowed us the time for staff to review all the trash collection schedules, along with Allied staff to eliminate as many conflicts as can be accomplished in a weekly schedule.
Yeah, and with that, I want to say, I'm commenting, it looks really good. I mean, I would expect this should work,
It should
and
handle
I would
most
be
of
interested in the
concerns.
input, from the community, but, okay.
Yeah, because I would imagine trash cans, some people leave them out overnight,
They do.
after
Yes,
they've been
that does
collected,
happen.
so they may interfere if they're going to go in the next morning to street sweep, but I guess we'll have to just allow some time to pass.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank Rosanna and the staff for getting on top of this. The community was very happy to hear that things were going to change, so thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Is there any concerns or comments from the public?
There is, I believe.
There is.
Art?
Art Reyes, 665 Christina Nahar. I've noticed that the street sweeper is, I guess, is there a speed limit on it? Because I noticed that they're going kind of fast, and it's creating dust. And the concern is that if they're going so fast to get something done, that I would like to get input from the chief, see how safe that is for children when they're around, or just a concern of mine also. Thank you.
We'll have staff take a look at it.
Mayor Campbell, if I may offer a couple of comments to the council. The first is that this notion of dust being generated by the street sweeper itself did come up in the early weeks. We were able to reconcile that concern. The quantities of water that were used, they were following AQMD's standard, which is a little bit more oriented towards water conservation than our local
And what we
practice
usually
had
pour on
been.
yeah.
Which meant, and one of the things that we emphasized to Allied and Dixon was because we're in such a dusty place, we need the water, and we're not restricting the use at this time with regard to the quantity that the sweeper can carry on board. So there has been a modification with regard to the water that's part of the operation. I will also offer to the council that the speed limit discussion has been part of our dialogue with the provider. I will share with you that there is a careful balance between efficiency, quality, and how we did it previously. I do not believe that our street sweeper is breaking the law in terms of the speed at which he travels. I believe the optimal was 25?
Need to come to
If you'd like to come.
I'm Jerry Roberts with R.F. Dixon, the subcontractor working with Allied providing services. So I can give you a little insight on what's going on, and his concern is valid for sure. We had dust, and then in the past, the staff was sweeping approximately 3 miles an hour during sweeping operations, which is somewhat inefficient. The machine's designed to sweep between 5 and 7 for optimum performance. That's what the manufacturer has set up on there. That being said, though, if there's debris on the ground that requires a sweeper to go 0 miles an hour to 1 to get it up, we're going to do that. So we need to get from point A to point B in a timely fashion, but 5 to 7 is the optimum. Now, that looks a lot faster than 3, so it is. Now, traveling from one street to another, maybe going on Main Street over to the next street, he'll go up to speed limits or what have you. But during sweeping operations, 5 to 7 is about what we'll see out there. So that's how that is out there.
And can we perhaps provide a little illumination regarding the on-site GPS system and your tracking devices within units?
Every unit is equipped with a GPS system that staff has access to. And so if a citizen has a concern, they say, on D Street, the sweeper is going by at 30 miles an hour today, and I'm complaining about that. They can make a note on that. Staff can go ahead and look up on the GPS the unit at the time and see what his actual speed was. So that reporting is available to you at your fingertips. And so we can make that. It is available, and it works very, very well, so we can respond to that.
That's good.
Thank you.
Oh, another thing, I'm sorry. I think the street sweeper that we used to have, he spoiled all of us. I had a couple of comments from different community members that said he would even get off to move a branch over. So bear with us. I mean,
well, we did hire one of your employees. We're happy to have Aaron working for us, and customer service is very paramount with Allied and with R.F. Dixon. So he will get out to move those things as in the past and provide as much personal customer service as we can, for sure. And on the schedule, you asked earlier about the schedule sweeping residential at 5 a.m. There will be very minimal residential sweeping at 5 a.m. We'll be finishing up Main Street in the commercial area. They're going off to the schools and area. By the time they actually get into the residential area, it's be closer to 6 and 7 a.m.
Okay. We'll see how it goes.
And then the trash schedule is we're following.
Right,
so
right.
it won't be interfering with trash. It's going to go very well, very efficient, and much safer as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would say that citizens of Brawley take their street sweeping very seriously.
Don't they?
They
Mr.
do.
Dixon, I hope
I saw them today.
I hope you do well. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the new schedule?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We'll move on to the next item. Is 5C. Review and a potential action regarding purchase of a self-propelled articulating boom in the amount of $119,039, utilizing National Joint Powers Alliance purchasing contract number 031710.
Hi, good evening. The City of Brawley is a public agency, has membership with the NJPA, as Mayor Campbell mentioned, which is the National Joint Powers Alliance. This organization procures various types of equipment on an annual or biannual basis, and this allows the city an opportunity to purchase needed equipment that has already gone through the procurement process. We're requesting tonight authorization to purchase a self-propelled articulating boom, commonly known as a man lift, utilizing the NJPA purchasing agreement. This self-propelled articulating boom will assist staff in various departments with tree trimming, banner replacement, lighting, and many other activities that require an employee to be elevated. The equipment has a height of 60 feet and an overall extension of 34 feet. And the total cost of this piece of equipment is $119,038 with 93 cents.
Jasmine, I know by piggyback on to a previous bid that the paperwork and all that's been done. So if we were to approve this, that means you can make the purchase and that piece of equipment can be ordered right then, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this will eliminate us from renting this type of equipment?
That is correct.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. if I may. I just had a couple questions on, we normally rent the equipment, right?
Yes, sir.
And do the employees operate that, and do we have employees that are trained to operate this type of equipment?
There is training available, and yes, our employees operate it at this time.
Okay, and basically, we will be rest assured that the employees would be trained in the operation of this, because, once they get up at a certain height, I get a little antsy, but I would do that with anyone because I don't like heights, but I think that because of the nature of this equipment, and because we're going to have this on-site and probably utilize it more than we do now with rentals, then I think it's important that they receive the training before they attempt to operate this. And anybody that's assigned to this, I think, needs to have that adequate training up front before they actually utilize this equipment. I don't want anybody falling onto this equipment.
Correct. Yes, sir, thank you. Yes, we will, we have that contemplated.
Okay. Any other questions from council?
It's a good point, Mr. Couchman. My dad was always good at training me as I learned it right then. So,
on the job training, right?
Yeah.
On the job training.
job
What,
training,
60
You got to
feet
try
up?
flying.
Yeah, I don't.
Is the grader supposed to do this? Yeah.
I feel this is a well-needed
the same
purchase.
way.
So. Okay, is there a motion to approve the purchase of this equipment?
I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of this self-propelled articulating boom in the amount of $119,038.93.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is 5D, 2013-14 mid-year budget review by Mrs. Waller, the City of Brawley Finance Director.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Ruby Waller, Finance Director. Tonight I'm going to be presenting to you, excuse me, the mid-year budget review, which covers July through December. Is it up here?
Yeah, it's that icon to the right on the building.
Oh,
Kind of
I
by the
can't even
parking
see.
To the right of that.
Right there. There you got it. All right, there you go.
Is it?
Two over, Ruby. Yeah.
Okay. This is going over mid-year budget review, which covers July through December 2013. And we'll go through, there'll be various slides, and what we do is give a snapshot of our major funds. Basically, it'll show approved revenues, approved expenditures, actual to date, which would be expenditures incurred July through December, and then it'll show their variances, their percentages to date. And as we go through them, I'm happy to entertain any questions as we go along. It's going.
It's messing up.
Try the
mouse.
mouse. Just roll it or scroll through it.
Can you scroll?
Previous.
Well, we've got the handouts.
We do have, but then the public doesn't see it.
Okay.
That was
We
it.
did.
You
If we
had
just
it.
do the presentation in reverse.
Yeah, in
There you go.
reverse,
There you
right?
go.
It'll
All
work either way.
There you go.
Here we have is a snapshot of the approved budget adopted by council, the 13-14 budget. Beginning balances, which are beginning fund balances for all funds. The current revenues, the revenues we're anticipating as uses and expecting to receive through the fiscal year. Expenditures, what we're budgeting to use within the fiscal year. And our ending balance at the end, which would consist of any carryovers for all funds. And the anticipated use of general fund reserve use for 13-14 was zero. The 12-13 budget, again, overall, the approved budget, we're at 25% of revenue and 30% of expenditures. And as we go through this, a lot of those items have to highlight where we are, and the variances is due to capital projects. We have significant capital streets projects underway currently that impact these numbers, which of course they have not been reflected as far as bond proceeds or any other reimbursement requests that we have, and any use of recognition of funds, such as settlement funds or the highway relinquishment funds that we have already. So that's one major source of the variances, where we're at 50% of the year, and we have a 25-30% split overall.
Just as a comment, if I may, Mr. Mayor. This is a comment on the general fund reserve use of zero. I think that's important that we emphasize that, because I think in the past we've had to use some of our general fund reserves for a variety of different things. And this budget, we're anticipating not utilizing any of that general fund reserve, although that could happen at a later time. Is that correct?
That is correct, but and there is a slide which is going to highlight, and we can go over it now, which would highlight is basically we are anticipating general fund reserve use now at this point. At the time that we approved the 13-14 budget, we had not finished with the regional board.
Right.
And we have that $1 million fine, which we have already made that first payment that's not within the budget, which is $333,333. Our 1/3 payment that we have made that was anticipated use now of the general fund, which wasn't included at the time when we approved the budget, as we had we did not have the defined amount.
Right, but that's what the reserve's for, and so we understand that there will be unexpected expenses that may come up where we have to use it. But I think it's important that we're not budgeting to use any of it for operational at this juncture, or at the juncture that we had for this budget, and I think that's important.
Correct. And here's the next slide, which states that the one of 3 payments for the regional board due the beginning of each fiscal year, which they invoice us and we coordinate with them on disbursement.
Right.
And then the other thing we wanted to highlight was the arson award for $50,000, which also impacts the general fund, which was not budgeted within the approved budget. And that also, those funds have been dispersed out to the Superior Court.
Okay.
General fund, our Fund 101, in relation to revenue, we're at 33%, expenditures are at 44%. And we also highlighted, you see there, the approved budget has revenues and expenditures equaling each other, and that was due to the zero use of reserve anticipated. And what we've had in the past, there have been amendments, which you have received, come to council for budget adjustments, which those budget adjustments come to council when it's going to affect the overall budget. We have internal budget adjustments, of course, that take place when departments are utilizing funds within their existing budget. So those amounts have been highlighted there. In relation to year-to-date approved versus actual, and considering the amended amounts, the percentages have not changed significantly. What we always like to highlight during this time of year is and remind is on our major revenue sources, which are primarily property tax, triple flip, which I wanted to highlight triple flip, or the VLF, which is a sales tax and a comprised. There was some bit of confusion going on with VLF, that it was restricted for law enforcement. However, there is a portion of VLF that comes directly from the state that is restricted for law enforcement, and the state then sends it down as grants. The VLF that we were receiving is from the county, and going to the League of Cities and talking to, many of you might know Michael Coleman, and working with the county, that it's basically a coding error or a remittance or description error. It's not necessarily VLF, which we're going back and forth. And if you recall, during budget discussions, we went through and said it can only be restricted for law enforcement because that's the information we were receiving. And then it was timed. There was only, eventually it's going to run out and we weren't going to receive it no longer. However, that's about approximately $2 million. We did budget it within, categorize it in the general fund under PD, but it's actually general fund revenues. It's not restricted to law enforcement. The allocations that we're receiving from the county are not restricted to law enforcement. It's a separate allocation coming down from the state. So we finally got that clarified.
And the clarification came from the service that we
No.
No, not from
What
that.
this came through is that I attended the League of California's finance meeting in December, and they highlighted on this topic again because they've continued to highlight on it, and I just got interested in it more, as fact is, like, still I was uneasy about it, that maybe we haven't had it categorized. Is it continuing? Is it going to discontinue? You know, as anticipated, because overall, especially, it impacts our general fund, and $2 million for our general fund, as you all know, is significant. So I entertained and engaged in conversations with Michael Coleman with the California City Finance to kind of pick his brain as far as like, okay, this is what we receive from the county, and I actually exchanged remittances and so forth, and then we got down, and then I talked to Ann McDonald at the county, and they clarified everything on that.
So it was just a clarification.
Yeah, and so the suggestion was basically just have the county change the description.
Right.
Because then, so we don't have it when that notion of VLF funds.
Is it something we're going to have our outside auditors just confirm, just to make sure that it's correct now, or?
Yeah, I actually have posed the question to them as well.
Okay.
There's two separate Senate bills that affects what we received to the general fund, to the city, and what are the funding to the law enforcement funding, which is considered COPS funding.
And Ruby, just with that, so when it was formally known as VLF, it was restricted at one time?
No.
So it never was?
No, it's just
Okay.
the way the county, the way they coded their remittances, they coded it as VLF. So here we get these semi-annual payments in January and then again in May. And we would receive them, and it's like, well, why are we continuing to receive these if these are funds that have been restricted by the state for law enforcement? And then it's like, okay, we're going to continue to receive them, but we need to restrict them for law enforcement. Well, that's not the case. The state's going to hold those funds and not even release them to the county to disperse. The state will disperse.
At later, whenever they determine.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So you just cut the chief's budget is what?
Yeah. Exactly.
But don't hold your breath.
He's good with the numbers,
I know,
though.
I see him back there like, you know.
Get that
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right? Yeah. Goodness.
Be nice.
So that was one of the major things we wanted to discuss and bring up on the major revenue sources that affect the general fund. Sales and use taxes, we're at 41%. Utility users tax, we're at 48%. And those things, again, have to do with timing, basically. Utility user tax, more importantly, because what's billed today is what's billed and collected today, the city doesn't receive until tomorrow with the other entities.
Right.
Any questions?
It's good.
And then to highlight preventative measures on budget overruns for staff, internally what we do up until mid-year and at mid-year or even throughout the fiscal year is departments review their budgets, their line item budgets particularly, and they are responsible for reviewing their line item budgets. And if they're over in one category, then what they do is look where can they pull funds from, where do they have excess funds within their existing budget, and they make those necessary adjustments which are all handled internal through the city manager, prepared by the department head, turned over to city manager for approval. As long as they're within the budget and not exceeding the overall budget, which of course then comes to you. Finance department, what they do as another measure is that purchase orders. Anything over $1,000 requires a purchase order. So what we require, we review the budget where they're at year to date, basically the last month closed. If they're already over budget in that specific line item, or they will go over budget with a certain item that they're requesting a purchase order for, we will request a budget adjustment. So those are different measures that we take as well.
Yeah. That purchase order gives you trackability.
Yes. Gas tax, Fund 211 for streets, we're at 56% of the year and 60 for revenues and 60% for expenditures. None of our major streets projects are out of this fund particularly. We have our Capital Streets Projects Fund, which is Fund 421. It isn't highlighted in this presentation, but I'll comment on it, is that that's where we hold all our projects, and we categorize it by the street activity that's going on at that time, which, as you know, many of those have just recently been awarded, and we have about $9 million in projects approved in this year's budget.
Is the relinquishment dollars from the state, is that something that wound up, is that in that fund?
$3 million of it, yes.
Okay, and it's in the capital
Yes.
streets projects?
It's been set aside in its own, earmarked for a specific purpose that's defined by the council.
Yes.
Yes, those funds are restricted solely in a separate fund.
Because that's only for this.
The only and I know a lot of other cities do, with that Measure D money, would it be a benefit to us to look at bonding that money to try to get more with our dollars?
We're in the midst of implementing roadway projects that were part of that regional bond measure. Not all of the cities participated in it in the valley, but we joined with a number of jurisdictions and had the benefit of sharing costs with that transaction.
So in our Measure D with the, at 7.2% and 7.5 in relation to revenue and expenditure, and that has to do, the low percentage has to do with the significant amount of capital projects that are going to come out, which is we're recognizing $6 million of bond proceeds that we'll be receiving in reimbursement for expenditures, $6 million in expenditures for roadways, for the streets projects that are ongoing.
Hopefully Palm Avenue is somewhere on there.
Streets funds, again, additional information. The highway relinquishment funds, as Mr. Wharton inquired about, $3 million are approved in this current year's budget of the $9 million we received. There's $6 million in proposed streets projects for Measure D funds, all approved in this year's budget.
And if I might note briefly for the council, we did hope to move forward with a first step in use of the highway relinquishment funds this fiscal year, but honestly, where we are in the fiscal year with our work plan delayed with the 2 phases of LTA, I think it's going to be very challenging to meet the end of fiscal year target for use of these funds. But it'll be coming to you. It won't be a surprise. I just want to make sure that you're aware that this is an item that we haven't devoted as much staff time as our phases 9 and 10 for the LTA.
Yeah.
Our water fund, Fund 501, we're at 50% of revenue and 35% of expenditures. That's operations, and again, our water fund consists of what we do is direct charge our water fund. We have budgeted expenditures, but then again, we do a direct allocation for time, salaries. Most importantly, we allocate whatever associated water fund time is there. So that could be a correlation as far as the 35% threshold to date on the expenditures. And then additional information for the water fund. Again, the wastewater fund loaned the water fund a $1.6 million loan back in 2009. And this, during the budget process, we discussed and devised a repayment plan, which is looking at an annual payment from water to wastewater of $102,000. And then I also like to highlight our current rate structure, which is our residential rates are according to the Proposition 2008 notice, for the 2/18/2008 notice. Currently, we're on CPI adjustment, and that CPI adjustment is not to exceed 3%, and that is effective annually on October 15th. Our commercial rates are subject to the 2009 Prop 218 notice, and it's currently according to CPI adjustment, again, not to exceed 3%, and those take effective September 15th as well. And it's the water fund, but the wastewater fees are also associated with the Prop 218 2009 notice as well. And then, as you all know, you just approved the
rate study?
The rate study, which will impact this.
This fund in particular and the wastewater fund, I think we're going to need to look at these things closely over the next several months, so.
Yeah, those shouldn't just be automatic increases.
The wastewater fund, we're at 46 and 45 overall budget and revenue to expenditure. Our solid waste fund, we're at 51% and 43%. The 43% is primarily due to the franchise fees that we actually handle internally, and we do that. What we did is took a different approach this year, and what we're doing is we're going to recognize the city's franchise fees at the end of the fiscal year. What we do with the solid waste contract with Allied Waste is that we pay Allied as billed, not as collected. So what happens if we were to carry our business that same way, paying the city's franchise fees as billed rather than collected, we then put ourselves in carrying a deficit, and which you're necessarily looks like you're borrowing.
Uh-huh.
So what we're doing is going to reconcile at the end of the fiscal year and then capture. We do monthly allocation calculations on what our anticipated monthly franchise fees are, and then at year end we'll see where we're at as far as in relation to collections.
Reconcile it?
Yeah. So that's what has to do with the 43%, because it's the non-transferred franchise fees. The airport fund, Fund 531, that's the operational fund, and it's a 43% split, which we have some salaries that are allocated to, majority of the fund are salaries for that contribute the 42%. I mean the 43%, sorry, for the expenditures, and 42% is all your ground leases, hangar rentals, and so forth.
I don't know if it's a detailed question, but is the contract we have with our airport, our designated airport manager and service, is that part of the expenditures in this budget? Do you know?
We can get you that.
It may be detailed. No, that's fine. I just didn't know if offhand, because I know it's not a big fund, but I didn't know on the expenditure side
No.
if that came out.
I don't believe
Okay.
so.
Yeah. Good question. And then again, to highlight the impacts of RDA wind down, we have a handle on it pretty much at this point for the city of Brawley. We're primarily at the wind down phase. We've come to you with semi-annual ROP schedules, which you just approved one tonight, which is our ROPS 1415A, which will cover the period of July through December of 2014, and then will be presented to our oversight board on February 26th for their approval, and then we'll send that off to DOF by March 3rd, which is their deadline to have that submitted to them. You also approved some time back the long-range property management plan. We have not received formal approval from DOF. I have received correspondence. That correspondence has entailed that the property that we had listed, if you recall, we did not have a current value. It was the old acquired value, basically. And so what they're looking for is an estimated value or an appraised value, which they're actually in the process of sending us a formal notification. That way we're able to address their concern entirely, and then hopefully resubmit it with a revision and get it approved. And then we'll move forward as far as disposing of the property or selling the property or however we're moving forward. And then the one thing, we just went through an asset transfer review audit with the state of California, with the state controller's office. So I just wanted to highlight on that they do their separate review. The state controller does a separate review from the Department of Finance on any assets. And we're currently still going through as far finalizing some information that they were requesting. And any questions?
Any questions from council?
No.
I think Art.
I have a question. On raising on that 33,300.
That's the payment?
Yeah, that money, it's already paid. It's gone.
Yeah.
You can't recoup it anymore. You can apply it to anything else.
No, that is the partial payment for the fund.
Right.
And I think what Art is getting at, we contacted the state to see if that fine money could be utilized in our infrastructure back in the city. And without speaking out of turn, I think that answer was no, right, Dennis? In the JPI training class.
As part of our settlement negotiations, we were unable to persuade the regional board that those funds be used within Imperial County or within the city.
Back in the
of
city.
Raleigh. So there, it's simply a cash payment that is the settlement agreement.
And I think maybe Art's question is it worth another try? Can we, I'm not sure.
My concern is that what if you, well, you can't do it any longer, but can you apply it to another entity, even though previously it came up that it was to be used for infrastructure for another location? I don't know if I'm being...
Yeah, I think our request was for it to be utilized anywhere in the Imperial County, and I think they said no to that even, so. Yeah, we tried.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Art. Good question. Yeah, we tried. Any other questions from council? Any questions from the public? Ruby, good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruby.
Thank you.
Ruby.
Keep the bank account good. Okay. Moving on along, the next item will be departmental reports.
At this time, it's noted that the summary of building department permits is available as an information item.
All right.
I noticed.
I have no question.
The Burger King thing is on there, so.
Yes, correct.
They're working.
They're working.
You get your Whopper pretty soon there,
That's
Sam.
right, boy. Pretty soon, yeah.
Have it your way.
Haven't eaten there in a while.
They're working. Okay. The next item is informational reports.
No other items
Okay.
from staff at this
City
time?
council reports. I'll start with Mr. Wharton.
I'm first batter, all right.
We're going to kind of jump it around.
I appreciate that.
It's okay.
I guess right at the outset, I'll mention over the past couple weeks, I will say it has been a fairly stressful couple weeks, but a lot of time has gone in as an ad hoc committee member, and obviously with Mayor Pro Tem Nava, we've had multiple meetings and multiple discussions, to say the least. I just want to take the time. I'm going to go ahead and defer to Mayor Pro Tem as far as maybe some kind of informational report out. But I would like to take the opportunity that out of everything that's occurred right now, it's actually been a pleasure to work with many of our local agencies. I think as Antonio was here a little bit earlier on the QSA MOU issue. In a very similar fashion, there's been a tremendous amount of cooperation amongst all of our local agencies as well as many of our stakeholders. So I really want to extend a big thank you to all that have supported so far the efforts. And I do want to also support my fellow council members for supporting the ad hoc committee, allowing us to really move forward in earnest and give it so far a best effort, and I'm pretty confident of the fact that we've been able to do that and put our best foot forward. So like everybody, I believe in the public, we're eagerly anticipating some kind of hopefully a positive outcome. So again, I'll defer a few more of the specifics to my fellow ad hoc committee member. Outside of that, I was fortunate. I was able to attend the Hidalgo Society installation of officers again. Again, it's been my second year, but once again, a great event. One of an individual that I have kind of a stake in that I've been working for the last 8 years almost. Sheriff Loero was honored, and also a retired CHP. Again, a couple of law enforcement leaders. And it was great to hear from them, and certainly great to hear from them on some of the causes they've been involved in over the years, not just serving the public. These are fine gentlemen that have gone out and have been a great example, I think, to our community. But along with that also, I had the pleasure of attending the Spectrum 25th anniversary mixer. With my fellow council member, Mayor Pro Tem Nava, and I went down, and I will tell you guys, I set foot in that place for the first time, and it didn't look like, or didn't feel like you're in Imperial County. Very impressive facility in there, as far as how they kind of rehabbed and designed the inside of that building. But again, it was a great event, and it was a wonderful institution to kind of honor. And I want to look into the camera and thank once again Spectrum for all that they do for the city. So again, great work. Outside of that, also that same evening attended the State of the County Address put on down and hosted in Calexico at the San Diego State campus. Again, a great event. It went fairly quick, and I will say that for a State of the County Address, there were all of our local agency and partners, and I will say, share with you, that's where a lot of our conversations were also had in the genuine interest that, as far as I'm concerned, that I felt about our issue we've been dealing with national beef. So again, it was very well done, and I appreciate I think our sitting chairman, John Renison, for hosting. From there, I did attend. I didn't play golf, but was part of the PMH 12th Annual Norm Lassie Golf Classic. Well attended, support our hospital. It's one of our crown jewel facilities in our city. So again, anytime I have a chance to support that, certainly do. And once again attended the last library board meeting that did not have Marjo Mello. So I equally echo what the mayor said on welcoming her back. Susan did a fantastic job in your place. The board did continue, but I will say it wasn't the same without you there, so I'm glad you're back. And then finally, we did, I think my fellow council members, I'm not hogging the spotlight here, but we did have a JPIA training. I found it to be enlightening, and certainly any time that we can get together as a council and be part of some continuing education, I thought it was very well received by our council, and again, appreciate our city manager for coordination efforts. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Wharton. Mr. Melville?
I'll let everyone else go. That way we can just wrap up with the national beef issue.
Yes, I also attended the CJPIA training, and it was very informative, and I'm glad that we had it because I think after the training, we're a little more closer. We understand each other better, and I also understand the work ethics in this place. I'm not saying I'm going to do exactly as they do, but we're going to work a lot better. Also, went to the senior center and had a senior get-together club. They had installation of officers. I was supposed to be there in time to install, but unfortunately, the other meeting I had previously, early in the morning, I wasn't able to get there. But they did give me a list of times and dates of all the things that it's happening for seniors. I shared that with city clerk. She put it on our calendar, and I also shared it with Jason at Chamber. So we can all, those that are seniors, we can look at that, and they also have Zumba there. It's not the fast Zumba, it's the slower version, and I'm really happy to know that we can still do that. Also, compliments to George Nava and Donnie Wharton on the work that they've done with National Beef. If they don't take what we give them, I'll be very sad, because these guys and the rest of the crew that they have been working with have worked very diligently, many hours, much time, and a lot of enthusiasm from our side. Hopefully National Beef, with God's help, they will say yes and they will stay. We have to have a positive outlook for that. I also attended the Hidalgo Society installation. We had a table. It was very packed with lots of politicians. As you know, it's politics again in June. So we had the honor of having everyone there from all different parts of the valley. Oh, and also from Coachella Valley. And I believe that, oh, and I didn't attend some of the other ones that Mr. Johnny Wharton announced, because I was at a Roman Catholic retreat for women, and that also brought me back a lot of inspirational attitude, and hopefully I can rub it off of everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I did attend the Hidalgo Society installation of officers. That was a real nice, well-attended event. Quite a few people there. And also the farmers market, and I thought that was quite successful this time, and went there and was in attendance there. State of the County at San Diego State University in Calexico went very well. Quite a few people there. Very short speech by Renison. by John Renison, and I thought that was a great State of the County speech because it lasted about 10 minutes. And I thought that went very, very well, and then we got to go eat the food and talk with the people, and I thought that was a good thing. I did also do the senior run walk at the senior center, the run walk, and also I was able to participate in the 1 mile walk, and I beat everybody. And the 70 and 80-year-olds that I ran against, it was a tough competition. They accused me of cheating, but I won the medal. I finished first. I sprinted at the last, and so
you tripped.
So I tripped him if I could, but no. So I got the medal and everything. But it was not as well attended as I would like to see, and I hope that we can get better attendance at that event. I think it's a great event. It was really an interesting event because it started out really great, and then when we got directed in the wrong direction, people went all over the place, and then they kind of brought them all back, and then they were kind of like hauling them around in pickup trucks and stuff like that. But other than that, everything went very, very well, I thought. And so I really enjoyed the event. It was really neat, and really great things happened. So that's all I have to report. Thank you.
That's what you have to look forward to when you get older.
Then you can go last.
Sure. Yeah.
I just wanted to keep my comments brief, but I didn't want to interrupt the other council members. I'll go before our mayor, and he can finish up. But as Mr. Wharton, Councilmember Wharton has said, we've worked hard. This council has worked hard at trying to get some resolution and working with other agencies on the national beef issue. It's been stressful. It's been several conversations on a daily basis, and right now we're just waiting for word back from National Beef. Don't want to get anybody's hopes up. Certainly don't want to crush anybody's hopes either, but things are looking not too promising, but there should be some resolution in the very, very near future, and information should be forthcoming. There is no official announcement as their take on our proposal, but just as recently as before this meeting, I haven't had time to update my council, so I apologize if this is the first time you're hearing this. But we'll have information tomorrow, and we'll go from there. I don't want to get people's hopes up, but I think we also need to prepare for the fact that they may not be around. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. I attended the Hidalgo Installation of Officers, the JPI training, SCAG meeting, the Calapat Prison Advisory Committee meeting, and looking forward to our strategic planning meeting. And I think my city manager may get me tired of hearing downtown, but I really think that we need to do something with downtown and spruce it up a little bit. Maybe even look at our ordinances to see what we can do for the business owners that own the building. Should I say building owners, and maybe not the people that's running the business, but it's. I heard a saying last week, and I'm not going to call no names who said it, but our downtown is not like wine. It's not getting better with time, and I think we need to do something. We need to do what we can to spruce it up and do what we can with our ordinances to have the building owners do what they need to do. And I'm a firm believer, if you build it, they'll come. If we don't do anything, it's just going to continue to deteriorate. So that's all I have. I thank staff for all of their hard work, praying diligently for the stockholders, owners, whatever it may be for National Beef. There's a lot of folks that work there, a lot of folks that's going to be hurt if we don't avoid that closure. It's not all in our hands. I think Donnie and George has done a tremendous job. And seeing these gentlemen nearly on a daily basis, I can see, the taxing in them, dealing with, because it's stressful, guys. It's stressful, and a lot of people are involved, and we're just hoping that things work out. And we're leaving in God's hands, and He always prevails. So I want to thank my colleagues and thank our staff, and may God continue to bless you guys and your families. City Manager's report.
Nothing at this time.
Treasurer's report. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. City Attorney?
Nothing to report at this time.
City Clerk? Nothing?
Just a reminder of the ethics training tomorrow.
Yes. Ethics training tomorrow in the
Hopeville.
city of Hopeville.
I've done mine, right? Yeah, I've done mine. Yes.
What time is that?
5:30 to 7:30.
5:30 to 7:30.
And I,
You're clear, Sam.
Am I?
Yeah, it's just
You should
Mayor
get a
Campbell.
refresher course in.
hey, I was going to take them online, and they told me, well, there's an attorney giving it. Well, okay, I'll go over there and hang out with Mr. Walker. And it's not at Hot Rods and Beer, neither. That's all I have. I want to thank you guys for coming out, and we're going to move on to closed session. Thank you, guys. We'll take a 2-minute break.
Okay.